that we are to follow. So just some things to make sure that we are double checking, we're checking the boxes. All Kiwanis advisors have to have a background check. That is necessary, okay? So, that link also is available right on your Kiwanis Club account. You can click that link right there. I think Trina even showed it in her last presentation. It was right there. So you can just click on that link and access that as well to begin that process. Any chaperones that are working with the youth, either just during the day or for overnight, have to have that background check. It's valid for 2 years. We do use Safe Hiring Solutions. That is the vendor that we use. And typically those background checks come back relatively quickly. So, they are, at this time, they are doing a more extensive search than they have in the past. I believe they're going back 10 years now as opposed to 5 years. And they are checking, any and all counties that an individual may have lived in over their lifetime. So the search is more extensive than it has been in the past.
Just one thing to add.
Yes.
I was concerned when I did my first background check about using my social security number. Oh, I don't want that information out there. Kiwanis does not pay for the financial portion of it. That's not part of what they look at, okay?
Great point. Thank you, Lon. So again, as I just mentioned, that background check link to initiate the background check is right there when you log on to your Kiwanis Connect. It should be right there on your homepage.
The cost of the background check?
The cost of the background check is $25. So that's, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jeff, can I also ask, will it send a reminder to renew, or is there a report we can run to see the club members' expiration date?
Very good. So you got to that point ahead of me. Very good. So yes. So what it will do is actually your club secretary can access that information as far as anybody who has a background check that is coming up that is due to expire. But it also will be reflected right there on your page. Right there on the same page where it says background checks, there should be a little red notification saying your background check is due to expire on such and such date. So it should be right there as you log on. So thank you. Good. Very good.
I'm sorry, I have a question.
Yes.
So
Terry.
how long is it between background checks? How many years?
2 years. 2 years.
Oh, it is 2 years. Okay. That's what I wasn't sure about. Thank you.
Thank you. So as Lon had mentioned, so culture of care resources. So into this presentation here, there's actually a more extensive presentation, and we actually condensed it for today's shorter agenda. But the culture of care refers to a couple of other policies that they have and a couple of other resources they have at the international level. But one of the most important ones that I wanted to make sure that you all were aware of is that they do have an international youth protection helpline. So it's good also, I always make sure that I also know how to access law enforcement, how to access, the child abuse hotline. So those are all good, resources to have, typically anyway. So, just in case you're witnessing something, as Lon mentioned earlier, most of the time, we're not going to have to access this kind of reporting. Usually, it's students doing something inappropriate and we just report it to, say, the convention chair or something or whoever's in charge of the event. But if there is something medical or illegal going on, then it is important to know how to report that. So there is this youth protection helpline here, 866-607-SAFE. So Kiwanis International, we can call that. That's staffed 24 hours a day. So you can make a report about that. If it's a dire emergency, certainly you need to call emergency right away or law enforcement. There is nothing against doing that. If you, as someone in good faith and common sense, that somebody can get hurt or there is some danger involved, please absolutely, use common sense and make that reporting as necessary. That's definitely important. But this helpline is also there for your resource as well. And it's important because it's not just kids that are doing things that are inappropriate. Unfortunately, there are a lot of chaperones out there that are doing things they're not supposed to be doing, or they're letting kids get away with things they're not supposed to be doing. I'm sure maybe we've all seen some of those things happening. So, not all adults, always, know what's the most appropriate thing to do. So students or adults alike, it's important to know how to report. Okay, so some of the commonly reported questions. So just a couple of scenarios, things, that may have come up that we'll just review really quickly. So let's say a faculty advisor only works with students on the school premises for meetings and events, right? Okay, so in this particular case, just the school background check is sufficient. If they don't intend to do anything outside of the school, that's it. They don't need the safe hiring background check. They don't need to do the chaperone trainings, any of those kinds of things. It's only if they are actually going to be off campus with the students that they need to do that additional training. Okay. So if they're just on site at the school, that's it. Their school background check is sufficient. So let's say that the faculty advisor works with students on school premise and attends events outside. Okay. So effective as of this year, they have to have the approved background check through the Kiwanis vendor Safe Hiring Solutions. And for anything overnight, like Lon mentioned, like a key leader or a district convention, something like that. And they need to take the chaperone portion, which is shorter, than the other section. It's not as many modules as a full Kiwanis advisor training, but they do need to take that chaperone portion of the Presidium training. Okay, so scenario 3, let's say a faculty advisor does not attend any overnights, but will be acting as an official chaperone at day events outside of school. Again, they have to have the background check for any events off of school property and need to take that chaperone training. So again, if it's off school property, they need to make sure they're doing that. If they are not attending anything overnight, but they're attending day events, not off the property and not as official chaperone, then again, their school background check is sufficient. So it really depends on whether it's on site or off site as far as faculty advisors are concerned. Okay, so a couple of just kind of scenarios that, to throw out there just for our information. So Casey is a 20-year-old former Key Club governor, now a Kiwanis member, wants to chaperone the decon weekend. Casey turns 21 on the last day of the decon. Can Casey chaperone the decon? And what do you do? Okay, so in this particular case, okay, oop.
No.
Okay, so Casey is not legitimate as a chaperone until he is 21. Okay, so in this particular case, you do have to have another chaperone, and Casey is not going to suffice as a chaperone. You need to make sure that you have another one. Okay, so your Key Club decon is coming up in 5 days. You have 50 chaperones. They're all completing their background checks. 45 of them have cleared and 5 of them are pending. You don't have enough at this point to meet the ratio. What do you do? Okay, so in this particular case, they all have to pass the background check. Regardless, we can't have 5 out there that have not passed the background check. So that should be pretty clear. So in order to avoid situations like these, if they know they're attending decon, they need to make sure that they are doing that background check process well in advance to make sure that there is no issue with them clearing the background check, to go through. If it's a last minute situation, and decon's in a week and oh my gosh, we need an emergency person, well then we need to look for someone who does have a background check in place. We can't send someone that does not have one in place. So this really just goes to telling us that we need to prepare well ahead of time for those background checks to go through so that we avoid these situations. Okay, Pat is a new college grad and a former Key Club youth leader. Member of local Kiwanis, will be an advisor, really great with communications and marketing. He's enthusiastic. He friends the faculty and the students on Facebook. He posts photos on his Facebook and Instagram, creates a new Key Club Snapchat, all of this stuff. Okay, what do we do in this situation? Okay. So essentially, it does depend. So we do have photo permissions form with Kiwanis. So when I was a faculty advisor, I would make sure that their medical forms were done and that their photo release forms were also done. So that is a Kiwanis resource as well. So making sure every student has a photo release on, so that's important to know, because we had an event once at a Key Leader where we found out that a student did not have a photo permission. And so we had to comb through thousands of photos, those of you that have been to a Key Leader, and make sure that that student was not reflected in any photo or any part of the video or any of that. We had to scramble. So making sure that you know specifically if a student does not have a photo permission.
That student was a model. It's a situation, yeah.
Yeah. And again, so specifically to the social media though, if these are group pages and school pages, that's okay. Pat should not be posting these things on his own personal social media pages. That is what we need to avoid. And Pat should not be initiating the friendships on social media. That's a no-no. Okay. If a student initiates the friendship, that's up to the adult to determine whether they want to do that. And then as Lon mentioned, remembering that those things, whether you think they're private or not, they're not private, they're public and they can be accessed. So making sure we take good care in being safe when it comes to social media, because that's how students communicate these days. And as Lon mentioned about the one-on-one, you know, it's so hard, you know, to make sure that you're avoiding, you know, those private conversations, but we need to make sure that we're doing that the best possible. I'm a 21-year-old CKI member and I want to help my local Key Club convention as a chaperone. Do I need a background check? Okay, so I have some kind of back and forth with this one on myself personally. So as of May 1st, all chaperones need a background check. We know that. Some districts have stricter requirements. But in Circle K is a service leadership program as well. So in my personal opinion, if they are in Circle K, they should not be considered a chaperone within the chaperone requirements. I would consider if they are additional past the ratio with certified adults, that to me, that's appropriate. I would not send 21-year-old Circle K members as chaperones to meet the need, because I don't think that's appropriate, because they are service leadership in and of themselves. So that I don't feel is appropriate. So my CKI club wants to do a project with our nearby Key Club. Do we all need a background check? No. So if the advisor, if the faculty, or if the Kiwanis advisor is there and you have enough adults with background checks to meet the ratio, that's okay, that's fine. So let's say that your Kiwanis club and the Key Club are doing something together, you know, you have, let's say 15 students, then you would need 2 adults with a background check to meet the 10 and 10. But all of the Kiwanis members do not have to have one.
This is specifically talking about Circle K international members.
Yes, in terms of right. But in terms of Circle K, the Circle K members, I don't feel should be getting background checks because they're still service leadership program.
Sure. We do have some instances where they want to develop a close relationship with their local Key Clubs to recruit them possibly to come to their clubs in future when they do go to college. So it's good to build that relationship. But as you said, they don't need a background check, but you need to make sure that that faculty advisor is there and they're doing it with the permission of the school as well. All that.
Right, have
Nice.
the appropriate ratios, correct, absolutely. Okay, so just to be aware, we do have Youth Protection Awareness Week coming up, October 5th through the 9th. So this is a thing where typically they'll put out some things to be aware of in terms of youth protection. So you'll see here, there's a list of things that are kind of coming up that week in terms of youth protection. We're gonna have to get off of this quickly because I know that the Meet the Candidate session is coming up. So I think we're at the end of our session here. So we do have some resources where you can email for more information. And Lon's and mine are on here as well. I'll be here until October 1st, and Lon's is on there as well. This presentation is available in our Dropbox and for after the convention. Perfect. And I think at this point, I think that I don't want to take up too much time because again, we do have the candidate session and I know you guys want to hear, everything that our two candidates have to say. So I'm going to go ahead and adjourn and thank you all for attending today.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Lon.
Thank you all for coming.
Hey, so I actually uploaded this to the YouTube channel and it's on our Facebook page. So it's about half of the end of it. So you can go on and look at that as well. So,
Thank you, Trina.
Perfect.
Ron,
Thank you so much, everyone.
hey.
Enjoy the rest of your conference.
Yeah, good job, guys. See ya.
Thank you. Thanks, Mahmood.
Thanks,
Bye,
Mahmood.
everybody.